Hey, what's happening, everybody? Welcome to the program. It's December. I don't know how that happened. Welcome. It's the Jeff Gerstmann Show. I'm your host for this week's installment of the show. My name is Jeff Gerstmann. Hi. This week we've got, we've got some news. We got some, this Grand Theft Auto. You heard of this? Bloods and Crips. I don't know. That was GTA 2. GTA 2, where I heard the story. I don't know if it's true. It was, someone who was working on the game told me that at one point for GTA 2, they were pursuing the the license for the Bloods and Crips. That they were looking to license actual gangs for GTA 2. And that it, that just didn't work out, and they just didn't, and they ended up, the GTA 2 instead has a bunch of fake gangs in it, but it is like a big faction thing that you look at it and go like, oh yeah, I guess, I guess I could see why you might start down the road of like, well, we want to use real gangs. And like, I could see why Rockstar at that point in a pre GTA 3 Rockstar would start to go down that road. But the Crips, there is I don't know about the Bloods. I assume it is the same deal, but the Crips, there is some kind of like business organization there around it that I think they do have some kind of copyright in place for that stuff. But I don't, like Tomax and Zaymot had they had their big office building and their big ventures, and then they were, running the Crimson Guard at night. It's pretty much exactly the same as that, but I do think they had some kind of trademark on some mark or like something around the Crips name, if I remember correctly. But that's a very long time ago. Welcome to the program. Here we are on a Tuesday morning, as it should be. We're kind of I'm not the only person. So I have seen a lot of people online complaining about this cough that is never going away, and I think that's where we're at too. Is like, it's not COVID, it's not RSV, it's not the flu. What the hell's going on? And you see some people claiming that like, oh well, it's they're getting treated for it like it's whooping cough, but like we've had vaccines for that, and it's not. I don't know. It's not really an allergy time of the year, so that would be kind of, and it comes after an illness and what. So I don't know. It's a bunch of weird stuff. I don't know, but there's just a bunch of people complaining around the country about this cough that simply will not go away. And there's been a bunch of different people getting treated differently, like whether they're getting like a Z-Pack or they're getting a nebulizer and some steroids and like an inhalant and, and whatever else. I don't even know. I used to get, and a doctor at one point said that I was getting inflamed lungs, and I was getting that basically once a year, and I would get this cough that was never going away. And they would usually treat it with an inhaler, and that would clear it right up. But it's weird that everyone, has that now. I don't know. I kind of don't. I don't know. I'm still coughing a little bit, but it's not so bad. But my wife is coughing a lot more than I am. It's because I've got the power of taurine and 3,000% of vitamin B6 or whatever the hell in me every morning. That's what does it. Keeps me sane, keeps me safe. Is that how it works? I don't know. I'm looking at my emails here. It's is this another email trying to get me to stream that? Yeah. Unpaid activation. Do these sponsored YouTube videos for us and we'll pay you $0. I'm like, that's not a thing. Who would do that? What, are you dumb? I guess people must do it, because otherwise why would they email me about it 4 times a week? Grand Theft Auto The Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer was supposed to originally launch this morning, and instead it leaked, and so Rockstar did the right thing and just put it out. And they said, fuck it. And they put it up early, and that's the right thing to do in that situation. There's no reason to hold it, really. And we'll see. Like, how does that happen? Because so I got an email from Rockstar. I've gotten a handful of emails from Rockstar as this stuff has been kind of worming its way through. And the last one said, when they put the trailer out, they sent one more email and they said, trailer files are available upon request beginning on Tuesday, which is today. So that means like they wanted to host it on YouTube and they didn't want to send the trailer out so that everyone could run it on their YouTube channels. And, you know, they wanted to have like everything pointing to their official channel, which makes sense. And sure enough, if you go type in GTA 6 on the internet, IGN comes up. The IGN version of the video comes up first now. Maybe it's depending on what you type in. I typed in GTA and the number 6, and maybe there's some keyword nonsense there. Yeah, so that tells me that they didn't exactly go about, you know, out of their way to send out the trailer to outlets ahead of time. So it probably didn't leak from there. And so I don't know where this would have leaked from. I don't know. Did someone internally have access to the trailer and send it to a friend going, check this out, man. Don't tell anybody, or whatever. And then did it leak out from there? I don't know. There were a few. Yeah, there was like a TikTok or something that had like someone pointing a phone at the trailer before the full trailer leaked, and then I don't know. So who knows? Who knows what happened there? But at the end of the day, the trailer's out. It is as first trailers for a Grand Theft Auto game goes, it's very much one of those. It's a lot of tone. It's a lot of check out our setting. Here is what we're going for. But not much of the main storyline. You get like a little bit of your characters, you know, robbing liquor store type stuff. But it's mostly just like, check it out, man. Our fake Florida is weird. And I think it's really good. I think like there's like a really impressive level of detail on character models. There are multiple twerking animations shown in the trailer. Just a lot of detail on that front that I thought looked really, really nice. Tonally, I wonder what it's gonna seem like in 2025. Like if we extrapolate from this that their style of comedy is that they're like, man, Florida man, huh? Like the trailer is full of a bunch of like fake social media videos, you know, like like kind of fake TikTok looking things of, you know, people standing on top of cars while driving them, people twerking on the roofs of cars as they're going, you know, someone fighting a gator. There's like a shot of a guy doing an elbow drop through a table. Like just people doing dumb shit. And being like that type of Florida redneck. It's real specific. The Florida redneck is a real specific kind of fucking thing that is not the same as a lot of other rednecks. There's a lot of similarities there. And so like they're tapping into that end of stuff for Florida, and obviously that's a thing, you know, that's but I don't know, man. I feel like the the whole like laughing at Florida man kind of thing, it has been pretty much on the outs for a few years now. And so it's sort of, it's not the funny joke it was a while back. And so that whole thing, like I feels like it is very much run its course. And so it's a little weird. I don't know, like when I think of Florida nowadays, I get bummed out. Not because of any of the stuff that, that the trailer is necessarily tapping into, but I think modern Florida politically and kind of where the role it plays in a lot of really stupid shit happening in this country, it's like more depressing than anything else. And so it's kind of weird to see this like, oh man, it's just fucking, it's fucking Ronnie Dobbs fucking doing dumb shit. It's the, like that vibe just seems weird for that trailer. But I think of the laws getting passed there. I think of all the fucking terrible shit like Florida, the like let's laugh at Florida type stuff that a lot of this trailer is just seems like really out of step with where stuff is right now. And so I'm really curious to see how they navigate that. Because also, like, looking at that stuff, you're like, oh, that's like a wide variety of crazy shit that I would be interesting to see for sure. And so maybe that all makes for a good game and when whatever, who cares? But at the same time, yeah, I don't know. Like, the when Florida comes up in a modern context, it is usually like, man, I hope people that want to leave Florida can find a way to get the fuck out of Florida, because Jesus Christ. And so that's kind of weird, and maybe they tap into some of that. I don't know. But it's it's what you get by going with a more modern take on it. Like the last time that they did a big thing in, and it's their fake Florida. It's not Miami, it's Vice City, like, and so, the last time we saw Vice City, it was cocaine 80s and Miami Vice and all that sort of stuff. So, I think like removed from the real world of the last 5 years. And I think if you make these decisions kind of in a vacuum, and if you make these decisions a very long time ago, which they probably did, I think that you look at it and go like, yeah, man, fucking, modern Florida, like all this wild shit. There's so many things happening. Like there's so much we could tap into. There's so much culture. There's such a rich cultural element to tap into, and you see little bits and pieces of that as well. And then also just like, I don't know, crocodile wrestling or whatever the hell. And I don't know, like it's I think it looks very interesting. And it looks less like, again, and this is something they've got away from, I think, once we got out of the GTA trilogy. Like GTA 4 didn't necessarily tap into this either. So this is, kind of continuing down that road. But like, when you watch that first trailer, you don't necessarily see like, here's a bunch of movies that they're taking from. The same way, like when you saw GTA 3, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, New York mafia crime, blah blah blah. Okay, you're gonna tap into this stuff. You've got your station with your classical music. Okay, yeah, I see what you're doing. And then Vice City comes out, and you're like, oh yeah, okay, 80s, and yeah, Crockett and Tubbs, and yeah, okay, Mr. Cocaine, Scarface, like like all of the stuff there. And then they get to San Andreas, and you're like, oh, of course, yeah, no, that West Coast shit. Let's get into the Menace to Society and Juice and all of the Boys in the Hood and everything else. All these classic films. And so obviously they leaned into that as hard as they possibly could, I think, for that GTA 3 trilogy. And it served them very well. And then they've kind of come out of that through GTA 4. I think it's obviously, I think you can draw comparisons from parts of, say, GTA 5 to various movies and whatever. You can certainly make those connections, but they're not as blatant and not as overt as they used to be. And so I think that this doesn't necessarily tap into film this taps into something a little closer to reality. But also, I think the setting, if they are really going to lean into all of this crazy shit, it provides them with a built-in gameplay variety if they really want to go down this road and really lean into, like, can I go play Highlight? Can I go bet on Highlight in this? Can I drive to fake Ocala and bet on Highlight matches? Worked Highlight matches? Is there a mission chain where I am infiltrating the seedy underbelly of the Highlight world and using that to make money? Is there a gun store in there that'll really be worth the trip? Can I, what do we got here? So, yeah, I think that there's a ton of things for them to pull from. I think it's just weird because the way Florida has been represented in a mainstream way over the last decade has just been fucking weird. Right. And so and tapping into that stuff now when kind of the worm has turned on a lot of that. We'll see. Like, to me, I guess, like, it's a very tight neat, like they have to thread the needle on that really carefully. And I think that if they pull it off, it'll work really well, but I think it'd be very easy for that to go astray and for a lot of that to kind of go to just be tone deaf, I guess, is what I would say. And we'll see how it goes. Because it's not like they're not always going and trying to tap into like modern culture as it happens right this minute, right? They do a lot of period pieces, but also like they tell their stories. They tell their stories in their way. They're not chasing youth culture in a really desperate way. They're not. I mean, they put out a fucking trailer and said like, let's get this Tom Petty song that no one. It's not even like one of his top tier, most mainstream hits. We got this Tom Petty song. It works well. It works super well in the trailer. So they're not chasing after, like they're not doing these really desperate, like they're saving that. Like Fortnite can go do that. They're like, we've got Travis Scott. Though, I mean, we'll get, I don't know, Fortnite showcasing Eminem, I think is a really fucking weird thing as well, when we think about the demographics. But I don't know, the Fortnite demographics are like an interesting question. I would love to see a chart. But yeah, you see those beaches and they're full of characters moving and animating and lifelike and doing, like the up close looks at the character models, I think look fantastic. I think there's a lot of detail on buildings and cars and environments and a lot of stuff that you just look at and go like, this looks fantastic. It's really impressive. And so, if they pull all of that off and they push some things forward there, I think that'll be fantastic. You want to hope that they've continued to evolve the gameplay. I feel like, they get closer to having a game that feels like a good shooter. They get a little bit closer every time they do it. GTA 5 is pretty close, but there's still kind of a gap that they could close there. And we'll see how that all goes. I mean, if you're robbing liquor stores and playing as this couple, which they didn't spend a ton of time talking about the main characters and what the story is there. It was just like, I don't know, here's this Bonnie and Clyde style love story that we're going to tell inside of our fake Florida. And that'll be the bulk of the game. Obviously, that's not super well represented here. They give you some hints at that. I think I think they're off to the races. I think like as far as a showing for this, I think the only thing that I come away from this going like, oh man, is 2025 is a long ways away. I can't say I was expecting that. I thought with the length of time that we had been, hearing about it and everything else, that we were going to see like holiday 24. And they have not announced it for PC. They have only confirmed it for PlayStation 5 and the current Xbox consoles, which is how they always do it. I mean, that's not weird per se. But also, I guess, like, it's, I think the interesting thing here is a lot. Well, I guess, like, maybe they're going to bring this to console players. Maybe that's the thing, is like, when we think about where GTA 5 really blew up, it was on PC because the game was moddable, and because we got all these GTA Online mods and all these giant role-playing communities and all of this massively popular stuff that happened around the edges of a game that was popular in its default configuration as well. But it was the role-playing stuff that really kind of gave that game additional legs and viewers and everything else. The like that stuff. So obviously, since then, Rockstar has purchased one of those major modding communities, or one of those major mod makers, and so one would assume that greatly informs what the online portion of this game ends up becoming. And obviously, and the more I think about it, like, it probably means that they are able to bring that experience to console players as well, because it'll be official and it'll be built in and whatever else, right? And so that will probably help ease that burden a little bit. But, there will be plenty of people that are like, well, I play this game on PC because I get on my 5M server or whatever every night, and I pretend to be a cop, and right, and they have to do that on PC because that's the only place that stuff can exist. But if they build that into the core game, because they've purchased, was No Pixel, whoever they picked up, because they've brought those people into the fold, then that will allow them to roll out those sorts of experiences for console players as well. So the game not coming out on PC does not mean that there will be nothing like that until it comes out on PC. It just means that it will be completely controlled by them. And that's how they like it. Let's see here. They sent me, the press release doesn't have much to say. There's not much to say. The trailer speaks for itself, but quote from Sam Hauser here: Grand Theft Auto 6 continues our efforts to push the limits of what's possible in highly immersive, story-driven, open-world experiences. We're thrilled to be able to share this new vision with players everywhere. Yeah, that makes sense. That feels like that has been their their stated vision for a good long time here. Grand Theft Auto 6 heads to the state of Leonida. Leonida is probably how you pronounce that. They don't say it out loud in the trailer, do they? I waited until the trailer was supposed to be out and then watched it. Then I didn't watch it just because the leak moved up. Then I watched it about a half hour ago. I didn't have time until then. So with my son on my lap, we watched it 4 times in a row, and I went like, that's pretty good twerking, son. The state of Leonida, home to the neon-soaked streets of Vice City and beyond, in the biggest, most immersive evolution of the Grand Theft Auto series yet. That's kind of their sentence-long description of the game. And, people have poured through it, and they've pulled out every little, like, this brand of clothing is here, and this beer is on the door of this liquor store, and that's cool. There's like a shot of Weasel News, and so some of what we kind of think of, I think of as the mainstays of, like, that end of the game, the goofy fake brands. It seems like a lot of those are there. There's a cheetah in there. Of course there is. I think it looks nice. I think it looks really nice. I think you could spend another 2 hours fucking being weird about it and talking about it if you really wanted to stretch out that type of a podcast. But I think the trailer speaks for itself. I will be curious to see how well it runs on current consoles. I'm guessing this is a 30 frames per second sort of game. Just looking at the fidelity of the images and all of that sort of stuff, I think it looks pretty fantastic. When you compare it to a lot of the other stuff that exists on those consoles, looks real good. You know? And so we'll end up kind of, we'll have to kind of wait until they start talking about it a bit more. But, like we're going to go the entirety of 2024, kind of waiting for them to talk more about the game. And they'll put out a trailer, eventually they'll have a release date trailer, right? I don't know that they need to do, like, what do you put this trailer out, it does 80 million views in a day or whatever it is, or an evening, not even 24 hours. I don't know, like, how many more trailers do they need to do? I think that they need to do something that there's like details they need to give out in some way, shape, or form, right? They need to talk about the structure of the game. What is the online nature of it? What is the story, the campaign nature of it? How much of it is there at launch? What happens to, there's logistics stuff. Like, do they launch an entirely new GTA Online 2 or separate, GTA6, GTA Online, and then do they eventually shut down the existing GTA Online? Do they let that run concurrently? Do they keep updating it because it is still so popular? Do they find a way to say, oh, hey, okay, we have added Florida to this world, and now you can buy an airplane ticket and fly between the two zones? Are they just going to add a new zone to GTA Online and keep it as one big thing? You have an economy problem if you do that, because you have people that have been playing the game for 10 years and maybe getting access to some bootleg shark cards along the way, and well, whatever, or have just earned a fuck ton of money playing that game. And so you can't just make everything in Florida cost $1 trillion because you are catering to players that have been playing for a decade. You have to figure out, like, okay, we'll get a lot of new players too. So what do they do? Do they abandon this game that has made them so much money? That would be scary, I would guess, on their part. To just walk away from existing GTA Online completely and start a new separate thing. And so I guess I wonder if they will end up, I wonder if part of the task is, okay, we need to rebuild the entirety of fucking, and we don't just need to go build Vice City. We also need a team to go in and fucking rebuild all of fucking San Andreas or whatever inside of this new end, whatever our new tech is, or whatever. So I wonder what they'll do, because they it's a different situation, but obviously, they went and they launched Red Dead Online, and kind of no one cared. I mean, there's a crew of people who did care, and they tried to be like, we're protesting because there's not enough updates, and people are like, it's fine, everyone's playing GTA Online. We Red Dead Online was not a success the way GTA Online was, and the fear is that you launch something and people don't gravitate to it the same way they liked the shit that they've been playing for the last 10 years, and then they go back to playing that. But yeah, do you can't just like, oh, you can't Fortnite it and be like a black hole opened up and all of the characters of GTA Online were magically transported to Florida. So, that doesn't fit with that universe. It'd be funny, but and so I think that's the thing I'm really curious about, is like how do they navigate that? because they've never had to think about that before, right? Of like, oh shit, we are making, like, still probably today they are still making millions and millions and millions of dollars off of GTA Online, and so they don't want to fuck that up. So what are they going to do to launch a new online thing? And does it come in conjunction with this game? It's also entirely possible that, like, what if they said, and this would be weird because I think it would fuck up the sales of GTA 6. Well, what if they said GTA 6 is a single player experience? GTA Online will be getting a meaningful update later this, later in 2025 or, later in 2026, we'll be bringing the Florida experience to GTA Online as only we can, or something crazy like that. I don't think they'll do that either. I'm just trying to, like, spitball, like, what are the options here? And how do they make that work? And how do they do that without fucking up the big cash cow that they already have? We'll see. Maybe they do nothing to it, and maybe they let maybe they launch a separate online thing, and if it takes off, then whatever, who cares, right? If everyone comes over and says, oh, we'll play the new shit, because that's where you're adding the cars now. That's where, like, it was fun to listen to Dr. Dre's voice lines over here, but now they should have a radio station hosted by Luther Campbell in that goddamn game. Get Uncle Luke on the... Luther Campbell needs to host a radio station inside of that game. That is my one actual demand for GTA 6 is I want a lot of Luke in that thing. I want a lot of Luke in that game. I want a lot of Luke taking phone calls from lunatics, from fucking weirdos. I want Luke dealing with what you make your ass clap against the microphone. I want that. I want people calling in and saying, Uncle Luke, listen to me twerk. And then you just hear this smacking noise and he goes, yeah, that's all I want. Put me in. Make me the new Laszlo. I'll go fucking write all your fucking radio shit. They probably already wrote all their radio shit. And then also, hey, in a modern context, what's the radio? That's kind of the other, like, less comfortable question that comes up a lot. You see some games try to do like, oh, let's have our game be, it'll be podcasts instead of radio, or it'll be satellite radio. And that explains why you go to multiple locations, but it's all the same radio stations. And trying to figure out, like, what does that sound like? I think the anachronism of fuck it, man, let's just have radio stations because that works and makes sense in the context of the world we're trying to build. And then maybe you throw in a podcast player or whatever as another option. Yeah, GTA 4 and some of that stuff. But yeah, I don't know. Anyway, it's a good trailer. It's fine. It does exactly what you need it to do. It's like, hey, check this shit out. Here's our fake Florida. There's a bunch of wild shit happening. Here's like a little smidget, just a tiny taste of the main character's stuff. And we'll see you in 9 months with our next trailer, or whatever it is. But yeah, I don't know. It's funny. You go look at the YouTube comments on the trailer. It's just, I don't know. Like I think I have a pretty complicated, a lot of complicated feelings about the Grand Theft Auto franchise and all of that sort of stuff. And sometimes it's easy to forget just how popular GTA Online is, but also it's very easy to forget just how big Grand Theft Auto is, just how popular it has been traditionally to a huge audience of players, some of whom don't play a lot of other games. And, you know, like it's foundational in a sense, you know, it is like that level of big, and people like to kind of not treat it that way anymore because, you know, we've evolved and but like at the end of the day, like you go look at these trailers or these comments on this trailer from people, and I just go like, oh right, I guess these people do exist, and a lot of them. Here's a YouTube comment from the trailer. A minute of silence in honor of all loyal fans who didn't live to see this legendary moment. 79,000 likes. $79,000 likes on that comment. I've aged 10 years waiting for this, but the trailer made me feel 10 years younger. Can't wait. I don't have anything else to say. I'm just proud to be here to witness this legendary game. At this rate, I've got about 3 GTAs left in my lifetime. Dark. This song just officially went from being one of Tom Petty's most underrated songs to being one of his most popular within a span of minutes. Yeah. I don't think the world has ever been more excited for a game. Truly a masterpiece. Thank you, Rockstar Games. It was an honor, boys, to appreciate this masterpiece. R.I.P. to those who didn't make it this far. Black heart emoji. I'm glad I'm here to see my childhood dream in front of me. You know, like people are, you know, like some of that is hyperbole. I'm sure some people are just being fucking nuts, but like Grand Theft Auto is big, and it does things to people in way like it touches people in a way that a lot of games don't, and it touches people in ways that I think a lot of people who play a lot of games don't want to give it credit for. Which I think again makes sense. Here's another one. I feel like now we should just all go en masse and just write comments like this on this video. But congratulations to everyone who waited. Like congratulating people who waited for a trailer. Like what is okay? Already fucking off the charts, unhinged. Congratulations to everyone who waited, and also R.I.P. to those who died along the way. You and I have grown so much over these 10 years. Rockstar Games are the only gaming company to never disappoint me. I hope their staff get a well-deserved break for this. Well done, Rockstar. Oh, here's another one. A minute of silence in honor of all of loyal fans who didn't live to see this historic moment in gaming. Words cannot describe how happy and excited I am right now. I just know that this will be an iconic game in gaming history. Even my father is prepared for this masterpiece. Yeah, okay. At this point, GTA game releases are like major life milestones. I played the first while in junior high, and I'll likely be playing the 8th into my retirement. I wonder if by first he means like legit first. Maybe. 80 million views in 19 hours is insane. We waited 10 years for this. Cheers to us, boys. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. Like this, it's just, there's a weird... Seeing this trailer was the only reason for me to not end it all. Like, all right, well, you saw the trailer, so I guess... Done. This is truly a moment of all time. That's great. So it's you know, even if we account for maybe here's one. Don't die until the game is released. Crazy waited 11 years for this. I remember being a little kid and asking my parents to buy GTA 5. Now I can buy it on my own. RIP to all the people who couldn't make it to see today. It's grim. It's like a whole collection of players suddenly realizing the passage of time and how it works. And they're suddenly just like, oh shit. All my dead homies. It's entirely possible that they're all fake comments, but that's a really weird, I mean, you know, but that's also kind of weird. I've been playing GTA since Vice City came out, and we are heading back to that city where it all started for me. Okay. GTA isn't just a video game, it's a way of life, capital L. So pumped for this. You know this is so iconic when 80 million people watched this under 24 hours. I am hyped and we are 2 years away. A fair amount of Spanish language comments as well. And yeah, I guess like you know, again, I think it's very easy if you're playing games and if you are living video games day in, day out, I think it's easy to look at this and kind of even just roll your eyes a little bit and go like, all right, another GTA. I didn't think the last one was all that great. But like it is this weird cultural moment. And it's strange, you know, strange, but you know, but also like I can't, you know, like I also am very interested in the game. Like I'm not, you know, I'm not like fucking RIP to all the homies who didn't make it to this day, like, you know, or you know, all that shit. Like I think that's a little fucking nuts. But also I think I don't know. I mean, YouTube commenters are fucking a self-selecting bunch in the first place. So I guess like that's I'm not super shocked that some of that stuff reads that way. But whatever. Hey, good looking trailer. Really impressive. The like visually, I think it is very impressive. There's a lot of good detail there and all of that. I don't think it's worth picking it apart frame by frame. I think you watch it 3 or 4 times, we'll let it wash over you a little bit and go like, cool. All right. Looks good. Well, we'll reconvene in some number of months and do this again with another trailer someday. So cool. Why don't we take a quick break and then we'll come back and we'll get into the news. Your sheets are filthy and they are getting filthier, faster, and faster all the time. You want to slow that down? Miracle Made offers a whole line of self-cleaning, eco-friendly bedding, such as sheets, pillowcases, and comforters, that prevent 99% of bacteria and require 3 times less laundry. But that's not all they do. They've also got self-cooling properties for better quality sleep. They use silver-infused fabrics inspired by NASA. So these sheets are thermoregulating and designed to keep you at the perfect temperature all night long, getting you better sleep every night. And like I said, they're self-cleaning. That silver infusion helps prevent up to 99.7% of bacterial growth. That helps them stay cleaner and fresher 3 times longer than other sheets and keeps the stank out of them. Honestly, I mean, you just keep them from getting gross. Ugh. But hey, they're comfortable too. That's the thing. You're like, oh, silver scratching against my skin. No. Luxuriously comfortable without the high price tag of other luxury brands. And they feel as nice, if not nicer, than sheets used by some 5-star hotels. And that all combines to make them the perfect holiday gift for your spouse, friends, or family who doesn't want better sleep and luxurious feeling bed sheets. And they come with 3 free towels, so you get 2 gifts in one just in time for the holidays. Stop sleeping on bacteria. It'll clog your pores, cause breakouts, acne. Ugh. Sleep clean with Miracle. Go to trymiracle.com/Jeff to try it today or gift it to someone special this holiday season. We got a special deal right here for you right now. Save over 40%, and if you use the promo code Jeff at checkout, you'll get 3 free towels and save an extra 20%. Man. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you'll get a full refund. Upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/Jeff and use the code Jeff to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/Jeff to treat yourself, a friend, or a loved one this holiday season. And we are back. Hello. Yeah, man, Grand Theft Auto. I think, talking a little bit about the way people on YouTube keep commenting about, like, time and the passage thereof. I think that also kind of betrays, like, there's a certain amount of, like, you don't know when a Grand Theft Auto is going to come out. They don't make them every year. The GTA 3 games, they kind of crank through them. And then realize, like, oh, hey, if we want to actually do something real, we need to kind of take a little more time. And I bet if GTA Online had not been as big as it was, we would have seen this game probably sooner. I think that helps kind of ground these releases in time a little bit. No one's going like, man, do you remember what you were doing, what your life was like when fucking Assassin's Creed Black Flag, when Assassin's Creed 3 came out? What were you up to, man? What was going on? And then when Black Flag came out, do you remember? Like, like, those games come out all the time. Grand Theft Auto doesn't. And so it's a lot easier to go like, oh man, I remember, and for me, it's never, it's never like remembering the year per se. It is just those little bits and pieces of, like, for me, it's interacting with Rockstar in the early parts of their PR cycle and seeing the tone piece movie trailer thing they cut together to say, here's the vibe we want to capture in San Andreas. And then just looking at, the person doing PR and going, yes, this is, finally, you were making one of these for me. And then watching them get bigger and more grandiose and start to have more and more celebrity voices and everything over time, like even in smaller parts, it's like, oh, David Cross isn't weird. Okay. All right, sure. And watching that thing grow from, because, like, again, when GTA 3 came out, I don't think anyone, like, people were interested in it, but, like, go back and look at what GTA 2 was. And a lot of people have never seen never really seen GTA 1 or 2 or GTA London 1969, the DLC pack for the first game. Go look at those things. I remember really liking GTA 1 and 2 when they came out, but also finding them incredibly fucking hard. Like just clunky, it's like tank controls on foot, and like mapping the keyboard was it came out at a time on PC when controllers were shitty and getting it to play well was difficult. And so it was a game that you're like, oh, this actually kind of plays better on PlayStation, but the PlayStation version looks like shit by comparison. And GTA 3 was ambitious, and I've talked before, because you can go find the write-up I wrote about GTA 3. I was at E3. The E3. There's two contributing factors here. One, they showed State of Emergency right next to GTA 3, and State of Emergency ran at 60 frames a second and had a ton of action on screen, and it was like you look at it and you see it. You go, wow, like it's visually impressive. In GTA 3, they're talking a lot about their ambitions, and you played GTA 2 and you're seeing some of those things mapped in 3D, but you're like, I don't know if this is gonna work, man. This looks kind of funky, like maybe. And so it was a lot easier to be very tentative about GTA 3 pre-release. And I think you can go find a write-up where I am like perhaps a bit tentative, and then go find the State of Emergency write-up from the same day of E3. The other thing I'll say is that I think that was the night of E3, or the day of E3 that was after the Sony party. And I was still drunk from the night before, walking around the show floor, doing my write-ups. Just still not hungover, like still drunk. Just like, fuck, I gotta get my shit together. And so I wrote those in a state. I think the write-ups are fine. I don't think they're compromised in that specific way. It's more just like, I think it's just funny to look back on it now and go like, State of Emergency, that looks like a hit. GTA 3, I don't know. And I think even, when GTA 3 came out, it wasn't the smoothest running game in the world. And also, I don't like the driver games. So when they're like making a game and you look at it and go, it's kind of like Driver, but you can get out of the car. You're like, oh man, I fucking hate Driver. I fucking hate Driver. Seriously, Driver 1 and 2, I fucking hate Driver. And obviously those games formed the blueprint for GTA in 3D. And so GTA 3 was a very, like, it felt like a very dicey thing. Like it's silly to think about now because of just how big that game was and how technically impressive that game ended up being. But I don't think it was until Vice City that I did, when GTA 3 first came out, I didn't, the late game of GTA 3 of like the missions and the mission design, like it was a drag. Like there are parts of that game that you're like, man, this game's a fucking pain in the ass. It's not especially fun to finish this game. Vice City, they did a much better job, I think, of ironing out the experience in ways that just, it was much more finishable. I think the story was much more entertaining. Like better writing. Like, you just see in Vice City, you see them starting to figure it out. And I'm not saying Vice City is like perfect. It's like, even like, fuck, man, GTA 6 is going to come out, and there's probably still going to be some fucking mission in there where you've got to tail somebody, and then they turn a corner and you're pulling up to the stop sign, and the game goes, technically that's too close. They noticed you, fuck you, even though they're out of line of sight because there's a building there, fuck off. Like, it's still going to have that fucking mission somewhere in there. And you're going to go, God damn it. Why are we still doing this? But yeah, I don't know. Like Vice City, you see the level of improvement in a lot of stuff in Vice City, and then San Andreas gets, San Andreas was just like their full ambition for that style of game on display. And I think when you look at San Andreas and you look at GTA 4, I think it makes a ton of sense because you look at how fucking crazy, like it's the Saints Row problem in a lot of ways. Like the escalation that San Andreas executes on very well, where they're just like, you can eat food and get fat. And you can get a jetpack and you can just fucking fly. Fuck it. If you can just fucking fly. Fuck it. It's incredible. Like it like especially like as the third one of those, as the follow-up to Vice City, and I think tonally and characters and writing and all of that stuff too, I think San Andreas is my favorite one of those because it's so fucking over the top. But also, you know, I think it makes perfect sense why they didn't keep going in that direction. Because what do you do at that point? You're just like, oh, I don't know. And now the jetpack has lasers on it. Like, what, you know, like, what do you're just like, oh, you get a better jetpack and you can fly. You get superpowers. Like, it literally becomes that Saints Row problem. And you can only do that once or twice before you're like making garbage. And I think that they were very wise to reach that level and then stop and then go like, fucking, we're not, like, GTA 4 does not have a fucking jetpack and all this other bullshit. Like, we're going to try to achieve a different level of fidelity, a different level of storytelling. And you can argue all day long about if you think that they achieved that or not. Like, I know a lot of people like to shit on GTA 4 these days, but I think that GTA 4 and then 5 after it, 5 kind of grows back into some silly shit. But I think 4 is the reset they needed. 4 is the reset that like grounds it in a place in a way that like it just again, you get that bump up in fidelity. I think the characters and the story they're trying to tell is really interesting. But also it's a game made by people who are sick of watching people just fucking get infinite rocket launchers and do the cheat code over and over again and just blow up tanks for an hour. You know? Every time they would do hands-on demos of GTA, I would eventually get into some trouble with the law and just start blowing shit up and just, you know, like, oh, we're just going to shoot a bunch of cops and do all this sort of stuff. And it's not that they were sensitive to that per se. I mean, it's the game they made, right? But it was never the thing that they wanted to put out there first and foremost. It was never the like, it's a cop killing sim, because I think they had dealt with so much of that stupid shit. I think anyone playing those games knows better. They're like, it's not a cop killing simulator. Like the shock headline bullshit, the Jack Thompson fucking garbage. But with GTA 4, they made a game where that stuff finally felt like weird. Where you're like, I don't really want to, you know, like with the story they're trying to tell and everything else, like I don't really need to do. I spent the last 3 games using cheat codes and blowing up cops. Like I don't necessarily need to fucking. I just don't feel the need to do any more of that shit. In that specific way, and so I think they were right to evolve it. Again, I think, you know, GTA 4 ends up seeming kind of controversial, I think, for some of those reasons, because I think you had a lot of people that were just like, keep going, you know, like just like in the San Andreas like way. And I think 5's really good. I think 5 really kind of irons out a lot of the stuff from 4, and also, you know, by having the 3 protagonists, you get 3 different flavors, where some stuff that like wouldn't seem appropriate for Michael to be doing seems way more appropriate for Trevor to be doing. And so you end up kind of, it's not perfect in this regard, but I think it ends up being the weird action fits the story a little bit better. Whereas stuff with Nico in GTA 4 was sometimes just like so fucking nuts. You're just like, none of this. Nico would never do that, cousin. Yeah, I don't know. I think GTA 5 like kind of brings back some of the ridiculous shit in ways that fit. They found a way to kind of fit some of that back in. And then the online gives it, I think the thing about GTA Online, the thing that I wish I could vibe with it, honestly, because I think that there's GTA Online is where all of that ridiculousness feels a little bit more in line. You know, like when you just see chaos happening of just like other players just run up and shoot somebody and get in their car and drive away, and you're like, what the fuck is that? Like there's a lot more silly shit and emergent situations that happen by virtue of it being an online game. And so that's obviously like very different than the storytelling heavy stuff that they're trying to do and all of that. It's just, there's a lot of different clashes that have always been there across the entire franchise, like weird clashes of tone and ludonarrative dissonance, if you will. That has been a key component of that franchise all along. Because if you're playing GTA 1, you know, like, especially, man, GTA 1, like, the last thing you want to do is deal with the fucking cops. So that game's so clunky to begin with. You're like, oh, fuck, man. Old Bill is coming. Yeah, anyway. I think the trajectory for that series is really fascinating. I think it's a really... When you look at what they've done and you look at what they've tried to do and you look at the culture around those games, I remember hearing, we did a video review for, I think it was for San Andreas, where we shot some of it in the parking garage, and like I've got a bat or something, I got a bat in my hand, and we're doing, you know, a little bit of dumb skit stuff in there. And it was fun and people liked it and whatever else. And I remember hearing kind of after the fact that Rockstar was not super thrilled about the game being represented in that way, because they're very particular. They get mad at a lot of stuff traditionally. And I'd like to think that we've all mellowed a little bit over the last 25 years. But this was right around the same time that Chappelle's Show did their GTA thing. That is like, that is very much kind of leaning into the headline grabby type of aspects of GTA. And in ways that I think, you know, like by knowing what I knew about how they liked the game to be represented and blah blah blah, that there was an aspect of that they were like, you know, that was not in line with how they liked the game being represented. But they were thrilled by the mainstream attention, by the and who wouldn't be, of course, like the zeitgeist type nature of that sort of stuff in a way that probably allowed them to overlook that sort of stuff. Meanwhile, you know, you get a guy that says that, you know, that goes in a newspaper and says that the Beatles Rock Band is the most important video game of all time, and Rockstar cuts him off. You're like, they're a weird company. That was always the story anyway. They've always been a weird company. There's less of them now. I don't know, you know, at the top. So I don't know. Maybe they're less weird. I don't really know. But yeah, anyway, curious to see where they go from here. You know, I think that what they're showing, I think you can start to extrapolate from there what the main storyline stuff will probably look like, and they'll make a GTA-ass GTA game. Like, will it have surprising weird side stuff in it? Probably. Will they overhaul a lot of the, like, I don't know, you know, like, is there anything to be learned from Red Dead 2? Like, is there any gameplay or movement or not movement? But like, I wonder if there's any influence from the controls there that would make sense to use here, or maybe just do the opposite. But yeah, like in terms of just like what does that game control like? What is it? You know, how do they handle the menus and is there a quest log, or, you know, like whatever logistical stuff will you know, kind of exist around the edges of that whole thing. But yeah. Fat Scout says, like, at the end of the day, Rockstar wants GTA to be seen as this mature, deep crime thriller, but like it's the game with Burger Shot and Freckle Bitches. Freckle Bitches is Saints Row. Burger Shot is GTA. I think Burger Shot is fine. But Freckle Bitches was Saints Row's sick burn on Wendy's. And Wendy's is fucked now, man. Yeah, I don't know. Excited to see more. Let's take a look at the rest of the news here. DMZ mode is dead. This is the third mode from last year's Call of Duty game. IGN.com has the story on this, but really it is they announced it. The DMZ mode is kind of it's an extraction style mode. Can we say that yet and have enough people know what it means? I don't think so. I don't think that's widespread enough to really work just yet, but we'll see. But it was basically like you are going into a large open area. A bunch of other squads are as well. And, you're completing missions along the way, and whatever you extract with, you are keeping. If you die, then you lose all the gear on you, and so on and so forth. It was launched, and they put a little beta tag under it in last year's game. Anyway, Season 1 of this year's Call of Duty game is starting this week. Tomorrow, I believe. And as part of that, they have issued a statement. It's just, this has a real... We would like to thank the entire community for their support and continued feedback on the DMZ beta. Like a year later to still try to refer to it as a beta. Remember when Gmail was a beta for like a decade or something? Infinity Ward and all the development teams who contributed to the creation of DMZ are incredibly proud and delighted to see the enthusiasm and participation that you've shown since its release and blah, blah, blah. Anyway. Beginning with next week's launch of Season 1, DMZ beta players can continue the mode via the Call of Duty Warzone section of Call of Duty HQ. Which, if you have spent a lot of time in the Call of Duty front end, you know what that means. Otherwise, boy, that sounds like a bunch of fucking nonsense. Like, as I was saying it, I'm like, I understand this, but like, oh, this is fucking crazy. Basically, it means it's going to be buried in the menus. The DMZ beta will remain fully playable across all current DMZ content. The mode will not be available or interact directly within Modern Warfare 3 or Call of Duty Warzone, which means that progression and any new Modern Warfare 3 or Warzone content, including Battle Pass or store bundles, will not sync or carry back into this DMZ mode. Also, DMZ progress will not apply to new Battle Passes beginning with Season 1. We felt now was the time to take all the learnings from the beta that we could apply toward future development efforts as we evolve this style of play, and so on and so forth. They have a zombies mode in this year's game that feels like it is kind of, taking some of the DMZ stuff forward. And it's kind of weird that they don't really lean into that here. They don't mention that in their statement. But a lot of the I guess MWZ is what they're calling it, in this year's game, like is built very similar to the DMZ stuff. I think it's totally normal that they would not be adding new content to it, and when it's not the current year's game, right? It's not meant to be, it's like, oh, that was from last year's game, and we did our year of shit, and that's it. It's a little weird to kind of spin it out to the side like that and try to, and it's a little weird to put out a statement saying like, thanks for your feedback on the beta that we sold as the third mode in our $70 video game. Fourth mode, I guess, if we go a campaign, competitive multiplayer, Warzone, and I guess DMZ. It's fourth meal. Some 2 a.m. shit. I did not necessarily love DMZ. I thought it was compelling conceptually, and I thought it was fun sometimes to watch other people play it because it does have stakes, and so when people get fucked over, it was fun to watch that stuff occur. And I hope that they do revisit it. In a way that doesn't have a bunch of zombies in it. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know. But we'll see. I don't know. I assume that the player numbers probably bear this out a little bit to where they're like, oh, it doesn't actually, it's not pulling in people at the rate that Warzone is. So we're only going to spend this much sort of time on it or what have you. But, and then IGN kind of says here, perhaps the only glimmer of hope here for DMZ fans is that Activision suggests extraction gameplay is something that may make it into future open world experiences, whatever they may be. Modern Warfare 3 launched with an open world zombies mode, which is now the priority. So, yeah. Yeah, again, not a huge surprise. DMZ always kind of felt like the thing that they were doing on the side and never really fully leaned into. And I think it's a good concept that probably needs quite a bit more work to truly, I don't know, to be something that sticks for a larger number of players. I think it is probably the thing, right? I think there's some, just some funky shit there. Speaking of funky shit, Sony is doing some funky shit. If you were a sort of person who bought television shows on the PlayStation Store, which I'm sure someone within the sound of my voice is that, they are removing a bunch of television shows from their service. And by that, I mean, even if you have purchased episodes of these TV shows, they will still be removed from your library. It is not a case of like, oh, they're just not going to be, you just can't purchase them anymore. It is, if you purchased these already, you are now boned. You are now, as they say, assed out. This is apparently it is related to Discovery, so it's your friends at Warner Brothers that are involved in this. Everyone's favorite. When it comes to yanking television shows off of platforms, no one does it like Warner Brothers Discovery. So this is maybe too long of a list. I was going to read the entire list because I thought that would be funny, but this list is fucking nuts. Okay. A Crime to Remember Season 1. A Crime to Remember Season 2. A Crime to Remember Season 3. A Crime to Remember Season 4. A Crime to Remember Season 5. A Haunting Season 4. A Haunting Season 5. A Taste for Murder Season 1. Abby and Brittany Season 1. Okay. Let's scroll down the list here. So far, I have heard of none of these programs. Against the Odds. AHC Presents. Air Aces. Air Pressure, Airplane Repo. Airplane Repo? Like, is that a television show about people who repossess airplanes? Like they sneak onto an airfield and steal a plane? Or do they repo people's cars in airplanes? Do they like parachute out of a car, like a plane onto someone's car and then repo the car? Alaska Gold Diggers, Alaska Mega Machines, Alaska Monsters, Alaska Proof, Alaska The Final Frontier, Alaskan Bush People, Alaskan Women Looking for Love. So if you bought all of those programs about Alaska, which I like to think are all made by the exact same people who just happen to be in Alaska, and they just know a guy, like, we got another pitch for you. Alaskan Women Looking for Love. I love it. Give me 12 of those. Alien Encounters, All American Makers, America, Facts versus Fiction. It's about time someone finally separated the facts from the fiction when it comes to America. I don't know if you've been reading the news. We have a problem with the whole fiction thing in America these days. American Chopper, American Chopper, Senior versus Junior. American Guns. American Lawmen. American Monster. American Muscle. American Tarzan. American Titans. Americarna. That's not Americana. That's Americarna. America's Most Badass. Season 1. America's Worst Tattoos. Amish Haunting. If you bought season 1 of Amish Haunting off of the Sony store, I'm sorry, you are no longer going to be allowed to. Also, a man is going to come to your door and haul you away. Amish Mafia. An Idiot Abroad. Ancient Assassins. Animal Black Ops. I like to think that that's Animal from the Muppets going on missions that are fucking that they can't tell you about. Animal Cribs. Animal Nation with Anthony Anderson. Animal Planet presents Animal Planet, Extreme. Answered Prayers. Answered Prayers Season 1. Apocalypse. Apocalypse World War 1. Auction Kings. Backyard Oil. Bad Blood. Badass Biker Rallies. Bar Hunters. Barbara Walters presents American Scandals. Barbecue Pit Wars. Barbecue Pit Masters. Beasts Behaving Badly. Beasts of the Bayou. Beauty Queen Murders. Bering Sea Gold. 10 seasons of Bering Sea Gold. 10 seasons. Bering Sea Gold is apparently, that means it's a television show that was on for a decade? I have never heard of it. Bering Sea Gold Under the Ice. Oh. I'm sorry, if you own season 1 of Best Funeral Ever, you'll no longer be able to watch it. Best of American Hot Rod. Betrayed. Beyond Survival with Les Stroud. Biblical Conspiracies. Big and Little. Big Brain Theory. Big Giant Swords. Season 1 of Bill Cosby and American Scandal. Billy Bob's Gags to Riches. Bitchin' Rides. Black Ops. Just a show called Black Ops. Black Ops Brothers, How and How Tech. Blood and Fury, America's Civil War. Blood and Oil. Blood Feuds. Blood Ivory. Blood Relatives. Body Bazaar. Seasons 1, 2, and 4. So maybe if you own season 3, maybe you're okay. Boogeymen. Boss Hog. Breaking Amish. Breaking Amish Brooklyn. Breaking Amish LA. Breaking Point. Breaking the Faith. Buddy's Bakery Rescue. Build It Bigger. Building Giants. Bullet Points. Bushcraft Build Off. Buying Alaska. Buying the Bayou. Cake Boss. Finally, a show I've heard of. Cake Boss, Next Great Baker. Call of the Wild Man. Canopy Kings, Cars That Rock with Brian Johnson. Casey Anthony, An American Murder Mystery. Season 12 of Cash Cab. Catching Monsters. Cell Block Psychic. Cell Block Psychic. It's a psychic, but he's in jail. It's a psychic, but it's the jailhouse psychic needs to get over here. Chaos Caught on Camera. Chasing Classic Cars. Cheating Vegas. Cheer Perfection. Chrome Underground. CIA Declassified. Clash of the Ozarks. Close Encounters. Coast Watch. Codes and conspiracies. Cold blood. Cold diggers. Not gold diggers. Cold diggers. Cold River Cash. Cold War Armageddon. Yeah, I got Cold War Armageddon for PlayStation 2. I mean, it's fine for what it is. They're trying to be tactical on a platform that really wasn't meant for. Sorry. Combat Countdown. Combat Tech. Combat Zone. Commander-in-Chief inside the Oval Office. Confession. Oh, shit. Confessions. Animal hoarding. I got 20 weasels down my pants right now. Cooper's Treasure. Countdown to Catastrophe. Cry Wolf, but it's Wolf with an E, so it's probably some guy's name. Cuban Chrome. Cuff Me If You Can. Curiosity. Is that a TV show based on Peter Molyneux's thing? Let's hope. Curse of the Frozen Gold. Dallas Car Sharks. Danger by Design. Dangerous Persuasions. Dark Matters. Twisted but True. This is like the guy reading off all the name, like all the guys' Steam names. Ashley Riot, Cum Dumpster. Like Dark Temptations. Darkwoods Justice. Darkness. Dates from Hell. Dating Game Killer. D-Day to Victory. Dead Silent. Deadliest Catch. Deadliest Catch, Dungeon Cove. Deadliest Job Interview. Deadliest Tech. Deadline, Crime with Tamron Hall. Deadly Affairs. Deadly Demands. Deadly Dentists. There are enough deadly dentists for them to make a full season of a television show about that, apparently. Deadly Devotion. Deadly Sins. Deadly Women. Dean of Invention. Deep Fried Masters. Demolition Theater. Devil's Canyon. Diabolical. Diagnose Me. Did He Do It? Is that about OJ? I don't know. Diesel Brothers. Dirty Jobs. Disappeared. Discovery Life Channel presents. Discovery presents. Do Not Disturb. Hotel Horrors. Dodo Heroes. Dogs. The Untold Stories. The Untold Stories of Dogs. Finally they told them. But if you better watch them fast. Dr. Jeff, Rocky Mountain Vet. There are 4 seasons of that. Dr. Pimple Popper. What? Drescue Me, like dress and rescue. Drescue Me. 9 seasons of dual survival. Dude, You're Screwed. Edge of Alaska. Edge of War. Elite Forces. Emergency. Escaping Alaska. Escaping the Prophet. Everest Rescue. Everest Beyond the Limit. Evil Kin. Evil Lives Here. Evil Stepmothers. Evil Things. Evil Twins. Evil in Law. Evolution of Evil. Expedition Mungo. That's the best name for a show. That is the first name on this list that I thought, well, I want to know what Expedition Mungo is all about. Expedition. Extreme Couponing. Facing Evil. Family by the Ton. Phantom Works. But it's Phantom. Fast Food Mania. Fast and Loud. 14 seasons of Fast and Loud. Fat and Furious. Rolling Thunder. Fatal Attractions. Fatal Encounters. Fatal Vows. FBI Takedowns. FBI. Criminal Pursuit. Fear Thy Neighbor. Final Vision. Finding Bigfoot. Finding Escobar's Millions. Fire in the Hole. First Inhuman. First Inhuman? Like, is it the first, like, we know that no one has ever shoved this in a human before, and we're doing, this is a whole season? Light bulbs. No, someone's done it. Oh, damn it. Flipping Ships. Fool's Gold. Forbidden History. Forbidden. Dying for Love. Four Weddings. Freak Encounters. Frenemies. Loyalty Turned Lethal. Wow. Funeral Boss. Future Weapons. Futurescape with James Woods. Game of Stones. Garage Squad. Gator Boys. Gear Dogs. Ghost Asylum. Ghost Brothers. Ghost Lab. Ghost Stalkers. Ghosts of Shepherdstown. Gold Rush. Gold Rush Whitewater. Gone. Grave Mysteries. Graveyard Cars. Great American Eclipse. Greatest Tank Battles. Guilty Rich. Gunslingers. Gypsy Sisters. Hacking the Wild. Hardcore Heroes. Hardcover Mysteries. Harley and the Davidsons. Hate in America. Only got one season. Haunted Towns. Haley Ever After. The Dress. He Lied About Everything. Head Rush. These all sound like they're on the fucking Shout Network. Hear Me, Love Me, See Me. Hear No Evil. Heartbreakers. Heavy Metal Task Force. Hell House. Hello World. Helltown. Here Comes Honey Boo Boo. Here Comes Honey Boo Boo Specials. Highway to Sell. Hillbilly Blood UHD. Hillbilly Summer. Hitler Season 1. Hitler, The Rise and Fall Season 1. Hitler's Empire, The Post-War Plan. Hitler's Zombie Army. Hoarding, Buried Alive. Hogs Gone Wild. Home Alone. Wait, what? There was a Home Alone TV show? Homestead Rescue. Homicide Hunter, Lieutenant Joe Kenda. Horror at the Cecil Hotel. Hot Grease. House of Horrors, Kidnapped. How Not to Kill Your Husband. How Do They Do It? How It's Made. How It's Made, Dream Cars. How the Earth Works. How the Universe Works. How the World Ends. How We Got Here. I Almost Got Away with It. I Am Homicide. 2 seasons. Is it about the wrestler? I Am Jazz. Is it about the Transformer? Hoping so. I Catfished My Kids. I Escaped, Real Prison Breaks. I Married a Mobster. I Shouldn't Be Alive. I Was Murdered. I Was Prey. I Predator. I Witness. Ice Cold Gold. Ice Cold Killers. Ice Lake Rebels. Idris Elba, No Limits. Imposters. Indecent Proposal. Insane Pools, Off the Deep End, formerly known as Pool Impossible. Inside Homicide. Inside Secret Societies. Into the Universe with Stephen Hawking. Intruders. Iron Resurrection. Is OJ innocent? The Missing Evidence. Ivory Wars. James Ellroy's L.A. City of Demons. James Patterson's Murder is Forever. Jesse James Outlaw Garage. Jodi Arias, An American Murder Mystery. John and Kate Plus 8. Judgment Day, Prison or Parole. Jungle Gold. Junkies. Junkyard Empire, Kate Plus 8. Because fuck John, I guess. Kidnap and Rescue. Killer Confessions. Killer Instinct with Chris Hansen. Killer Instinct with Chris Hansen. I hope they got the guy from the fighting game. That 10-year anniversary update of Killer Instinct came out. They made some balance changes and updated the Steam version, which I think had kind of fallen behind a little bit on some of the store stuff. I downloaded it and played it, and I'm like, this still seems like Killer Instinct. I'm not, I was never an expert at it to really feel the balance changes, but I played some of it, and I was like, yeah, this, I remember this game. This is a cool game. Killer Instinct. Check it out. I think it's free. It's free, right? They do like a character of the week thing if you don't want to buy the characters. Sorry, where were we? Killer Outbreaks, Killer Whales, The Mega Hunt, Killing Bigfoot, Killing Fields, Killing the Colorado, Klondike, Kodiak, LA Inc., Land Rush, Las Vegas Law, Last Stop Garage, Law on the Border, Leah Remini, It's All Relative, Legend of Croc Gold. I hope that's they're going to reboot the Croc franchise off the success of Legend of Croc Gold. Let's Kill Mom. Little People, Big World. Season 17. Living with Man-Eaters. Lone Star Law. Lone Star Legend. Long Island Medium. Lost Tapes. Louisiana Lockdown. Love the Way You Lie. This is just a retelling of the Eminem and Rihanna song. Love, Lust, or Run. Machines, how they work. Made by Destruction. Mafia's Greatest Hits. Mall Cops, Mall of America. Man-Eating Python of Sulawesi. Man versus the Universe. Man versus Wild. Man, Woman, Wild. Manhunt, Kill or Capture. Manhunt, Unabomber. Mansions and Murders. Man Tracker. Marooned. Mega Machines. Melting, Last Race to the Pole. Mermaids. Meteorite Men. Miami Inc. Military Channel presents Misfit Garage. Missions that changed the war. Monster Bug Wars. Monsters and Mysteries Unsolved. Monsters and Mysteries in America. Monsters Inside Me. Seasons 1 through 8. Monsters Underground. Moonshiners. Mosquito. Most Evil. Motives and Murders Cracking the Case. Mountain Monsters. Mud-loving Rednecks. Murder Among Friends. Murder Book. Murder by Numbers. Murder Calls. Murder in Paradise. Murder You. Mutant Planet. My 600-Pound Life. My Big Fat Pet Makeover. My Crazy Obsession. My Dirty Little Secret. My Extreme Animal Phobia. My 5 Wives. My Giant Life. My Strange Addiction, which I think is the only show on this list so far that I have seen. My Teen is Pregnant and So Am I. My War Diary, Mysteries of the Abandoned, Mysteries of the Missing, Mysterious Wilds of India, Mystery of the Lost Islands, Mythbusters. Mythbusters, The Search. Naked and Afraid. Naked and Afraid XL. It's everything you loved about Naked and Afraid, but fucking way bigger. This nudity is so much fucking... This is big nude. And the fear is off the charts as well. Naked Speed, Narrow Escapes of World War II, NASA's Unexplained Files, Natural Born Outlaws, Nazi Fugitives, Ned Bruja, Skunk Whisperer. Sound like Adult Swim shows. Skunk Whisperer. New Girls on the Block, Nightmare Next Door, No Limits, North America, Northwoods Law, Nowhere to Hide, New York Inc., Obsession, Dark Desires. What a nothing name. Odd Folks Home, Oddities. Ooh, is it about the Oddities? They play the song. Oddities, San Francisco, On the Case with Paula Zahn. One Car Too Far, One Man Army, One Way Out, Operation Wild, Our Little Family, Out of the Wild, Venezuela, Outlaw Empires, Outlaw Tech, Outrageous Acts of Danger, outrageous acts of psych, outrageous acts of science, overhauling UHD. I assume that means they have it in 4K. Pacific Warriors, Pandora's Box, Unleashing Evil, Paranormal Lockdown, Passport to Murder. Pearl Harbor, The Heroes Who Fought Back, Penn and Teller, Tell a Lie, Pete Rose, Hits and Misses. Pete Rose, Hits and Misses. Pit Boss, Pit Bulls and Parolees. Policewomen of Broward County. Cowards from Broward get sprayed in Dade. In season 6 of Policewomen of Broward County. Policewomen of Cincinnati, Policewomen of Dallas, Preaching Alabama, Predators Up Close with Joel Lambert, Pregnant Behind Bars, Princess Diana, Tragedy or Treason. Prophets of Science Fiction, Psychic Matchmaker, Punkin' Chunkin'. Punkin' Chunkin'. Race to Escape, Railroad Alaska, Raised Human, Rancher, Farmer, Fisherman, Ratbusters NYC, Rattled, Rattlesnake Republic, Real Detective, Real, Fake, or Unknown. Reasonable Doubt, Rebel Gold, Red Rum, Redwood Kings, Rescue Dog to Superdog, Restoration Wild, Return to Amish, Rising, Rebuilding Ground Zero, Risking It All, Rival Survival, River Monsters, Roar, the most dangerous movie ever made, Rocky Mountain Bounty Hunters, Rugged Justice, Rusted Development, Sacred Cod. Like, is it about a fish that people worship? Sacred Steel Bikes, Sarah Palin's Alaska, Say Yes to the Dress, Say Yes to the Dress Atlanta, Say Yes to the Dress Big Bliss, Say Yes to the Dress Randy Knows Best. Scam City, SCI Sports, Sci-Fi Science, Science Channel presents Scorned, Love Kills, Scott Peterson, An American Murder Mystery, Secret Life of Formula One, Secret Princes, Secret Sex Lives, Swingers, Secret Space Escapes, Secret War, Secrets of America's Favorite Places, Secrets of the Arsenal, See No Evil, Serial Thriller, Sex in Public, Season 1, Sex Sent Me to the ER, Seasons 1, 2, and 3, Sex Sent Me to the Slammer, Season 1, Sexual Assault in College, Tamron Hall Investigates, Shadow of Doubt, Shadow Ops, Shark Week, She's in Charge, Shifting Gears with Aaron Kaufman, Shock Trauma, Edge of Life, Siberian Cut, Sin City ER, Sins and Secrets, Sister Wives, what? 6 Degrees of Murder, Smoked, Solved, Son of Sam, The Hunt for a Killer, Sonic C, Sons of Guns, Sons of Winter, South Beach Classics, Southern Fried Homicide, Space, Unraveling the Cosmos, Space's Deepest Secrets, Special Ops Mission, Stalked, Someone's Watching, Starter Wives Confidential, Stephen Hawking's Grand Design, Stephen Avery, Innocent or Guilty, Still Alive, Stolen Voices, Buried Secrets, Strange Evidence, Street Justice, The Bronx, Street Outlaws, Memphis, Street Outlaws, New Orleans, Street Science, Strip the City, Strip the Cosmos, Stuck with Hackett, Stuff You Should Know, Style by Jury, Suddenly Rich, Suddenly Royal, Surprise Homecoming, Surviving Evil with Charisma Carpenter, Surviving the Cut, Survivor Man, Suspicion, Swamp Brothers, Swamp Monsters, Swamp Murders, Swamp Wars, Swimming with Monsters, Swords. That show's just called Swords. TOP Army Fighter, Tabloid, Taking Fire, Taking on Tyson, Tanked, Tattoo Girls, Telescope, Terror in the Woods, Tesla's Death Ray, A Murder Declassified. Tethered, Texas Car Wars, Texas Metal, the 1980s, the deadliest decade. The 685-pound teen, The American Revolution, The Auto Firm with Alex Vega, The Colony, The Coroner, I Speak for the Dead. The Cowboy, The Dark Side of the Sun, The Day I Almost Died, The Demon Files, The Detectives Club, New Orleans, The Devil You Know, The Devil's Ride, The Exorcist File, Haunted Boy. The Fighters, The First Kill, The Golden State Killer, It's Not Over. The Guardians, The Haunted, The Interrogation Room, The Last Alaskans, The Little Couple, The Mind of a Murderer, The Murder Castle, The Perfect Murder, The Perfect Suspect, The President's Gatekeepers, The Quick and the Curious, The Shift, The Unexplained Files, The Universe's Greatest Hits, The Vanishing Women, The Wheel, The Wives Did It, The Zoo, 3 Wives, 1 Husband. Oh. All right. Through the Wormhole with Morgan Freeman. TLC presents Toddlers and Tiaras. Too Cute. Top Hooker. Top Hooker? Top Secret Weapons Revealed. Top Sniper. Top 10s. Totally T-Boz. I was thinking about TLC from before, so a T-Boz show. Makes a lot of sense. Does Chili show up on any episodes? Toucan Nation. Like toucan, like the bird from Fruit Loops. Toughest Military Jobs. Trailblazers. Trauma Down Under. Treasure Quest Snake Island. Treehouse Masters. Triggers. True Conviction. True Crime with Aphrodite Jones, True Nightmares, True Supernatural, Twisted Tales of My 9 to 5, UFO Conspiracies, UFOs The Lost Evidence, UFOs The Untold Stories, Unchained Reaction, Unearthed 2017, as well as another separate show also called Unearthed. Unique Rides, United States of Food, Unraveled, Untold Stories of the ER, Untouchable, Power Corrupts, Unusual Suspects, Deadly Intent, U.S. Bounty Hunters, United States of Bacon, Vanity Fair Confidential, Vegas Rat Rods, Venom Hunters, Village of the Damned, Warrior POV, Wartime Crime, Weaponology, Web of Lies, Weird, True and Freaky, Whale Wars Viking Shores, What Could Possibly Go Wrong, What History Forgot, What Not to Wear, What on Earth, Wheeler Dealers, Trading Up, Who Do You Think You Are, Who is Donnie Rudd, Keith Morrison Investigates. Who's this person you've never heard of? Another person you've never heard of looks into it. Who Killed Angie Dodge? Keith Morrison Investigates. Who Killed Dane Doe? Who the bleep did I marry? Who the bleep ... What? Wicked Attraction. Wild Africa, Rivers of Life. Wild West, Alaska. Willis Family. Wives with Knives. Season 3 of Wives with Knives. Season 1 and 2 seem to be safe. Women in Prison. Women of Homicide. World War II. Witness to War. World's Scariest Plane Landings. World's Toughest Trucker. Worst Thing I Ever Did. World War II in the Pacific. World War II's Greatest Raids. Yankee Jungle. Your Worst Nightmare. Yukon Men. 100 Miles from Nowhere. 19 Kids and Counting. And 9/11 Hero. The Red Bandana Legacy. I'm sorry to say, if you own any of those shows in the specific seasons, that you will no longer have access to them on the PlayStation Store. Um, and that's a bummer. I don't know, like, you know, stuff like this negates people's trust in digital platforms, and I'm sure on the Sony end they're probably not thrilled about it, but also they probably signed a deal that had a renewal clause in it, and when it came back up, Discovery either definitely didn't want to renew the deal, or who knows what happened. Maybe the asking price was too high. They're like, if you want to keep 19 Kids and Counting season 5 on your service, you need to fucking pay up, man. So I mean, a lot of these have been around for a while, right? Because according to the Kotaku story about this, movies and TV first came to the PlayStation Network in 2008 via the PlayStation 3. And so it's possible that maybe you bought some of this stuff back in 2008. I'm not sure. But it's bad. So, you know, I guess like all I can say is like maybe back in 2008 when they were signing these deals or when they were negotiating deals, they didn't. These deals need to be in perpetuity. And also I think that what we need is a level of transparency from these services that we don't have. I want to know before I make a purchase, is this something that you have the license to in perpetuity, or is this something that the license is going to come up for renewal and you might just not renew it and you might yank it from me even though I already bought it? And, you know, it's easy to joke about, like, I mean, we literally, after looking at and reading the entire list, I can say, fuck all that. I would love to have that pulled from my library and never have to think about it again. But that, you know, that's beside the point. Marco in the chat says, wouldn't be shocked if some of these were also connected to rights being sold. Mythbusters seasons 4 through 8 were removed from Discovery Plus this month because of that. So yeah, like these deals need to be, if you have deals, okay, two things. One, deals going forward need to be done in such a way that this can't happen. Just if you want to build trust on your storefront, this is something that has to happen. You have to be able to say, hey, these things are ironclad. It's a done deal. You can buy these with confidence. And in lieu of that, if you've got older deals in place, or if you're just signing bad deals now, you need to put something on those pages that say that we definitely have the rights to these through 2023. After that, can't make any guarantees. And then if the contract gets updated, you extend the date out and whatever else. But users, potential buyers need to know, if they are buying digital content, what the risks are in this granular way. You know? Because it's different for different content. And that's no good. It's bad regardless, right? Like, this stuff being yanked away from people who quote unquote bought it fucking sucks. And this is something that casts, this story is getting play in a way that you're like, well, whatever, man. It's a bunch of fucking garbage reality TV. Who cares? But it's very easy to look at it and go like, well, what's stopping them from yanking video games away from me that I do care about? Or, for like this, these sorts of things changing. We already live in a world where servers get knocked down and other things happen. We live in a world where someone got a hold of an early copy of the Avatar game that's coming out this week, and they put the disc in their drive. And after it got done installing, it just pops up a thing that has the logo of the game, and it says December 7th. And the box says that you need an internet connection to install the game. Now, presumably that's because they didn't put a working game on the disc in the first place, or who knows? The game went gold a little late and whatever else. But, at that point, what are you buying? What do you know? And you extrapolate that to 20 years down the line when all these servers have imploded and none of them work anymore. Those discs are totally useless in a way that they don't need to be because it's a single player game. Now, if you tell me like, oh, well, the Destiny 1 discs are useless now too, it's like, yeah, okay. But, or hey, these discs for shut down online live service games, like, it happens. It's not pretty that it happens. It sucks that it happens, but like, it's a little easier to understand in those sorts of situations. When you have a game that is largely offline, as far as I can tell, with Avatar, that's a terrible situation. It's kind of the other end of this, though. So but to stick with this, I think that again, this is something that I think shakes everyone's trust in buying digitally. I think that not in a way that they're going to stop, though, right? The momentum for digital purchases is still so strong, because people love the convenience, and I think the majority of players just don't really see the value. They're not really, they don't really see the value of the physical purchase. I see the value of a physical purchase, but I still don't do it. Because like it's very convenient. You just push the button and have it. But I think that this is the sort of situation that you have to look at and think about, like, what's stopping them from doing this with their entire movie store. Like they've kind of gotten out of this business overall. Like now they have their separate movie app that you can download on a PlayStation 5, and it's like, you want to watch a bunch of bad movies? If you have PlayStation Plus, you can, and you load it up and you're like, oh, this is really a bunch of shit. The Cosmic Fly says, if stuff like that Avatar game keeps happening, then even physical purchasing will be pointless. And to that I say, yes. Eventually this is all going to go away. Like the promise of the Xbox One, the all digital future is still coming at us, double barrels, full speed. But they're slow playing it now. And there are parts of the world where obviously, the bandwidth is still shitty and whatever else. And so the hope is that stuff improves so that people can download video games. But also, I think that there are companies who really are willing to leave parts of the world a little hung out to dry on that stuff, because the benefits are still probably worth it to them. But I think that, yeah, everyone wants this. I don't think there's anyone out there going, no one, and there's no one at EA going like, but we've got to think about the used game purchasers. They're like, no, we got to think about the used game purchasers and stick it to them and stop them from doing this. We've been trying for fucking 15 years, and now we're finally heading in that direction. So I the impression I get is that the industry, and I haven't had a specific conversation about this, so maybe I'm a little off base, but like, there is no reason to assume that the industry gives a shit about how games are distributed, or that they really give a shit about game preservation in the way that when we talk about physical discs and all of that sort of stuff. I think the most you'll get is when you see on the Xbox side, whenever they're faced with any question like this, and anywhere along these lines where they can insert this line, they do. And they say, well, we like player choice. And that doesn't, and we'll see how long that lasts, right? I mean, if the players are choosing digital distribution by and large, eventually you do get to that point where you're like, well, we don't really need to put a disk drive in this console anymore. And by the way, there's a bunch of cool benefits to us when we do that on the used game side and whatever else. So if the users are already going in that direction, we'll push them a little further, and great, everybody wins. And by that we mean a lot of people do kind of lose, but they won't realize they've lost until after they stopped caring about whatever game they're going to get mad about. But that's going to make it a lot harder for us to go back and play. You know, like I love to go back and play. I play old games quite a bit, but I play them from an era when that's a done deal. You know, those are going to be easy to play forever and all that sort of stuff. But under the surface, if we really do pick it apart, what we're talking about is piracy. You know, when we talk about emulation, when we talk about, you know, hard drives full of ColecoVision games, that's just how it's gone down. And so I sort of look at this as like the companies are only interested in that level of preservation up to a point. And that point is when they can sell it again, you know? And when they start selling it again, they're kind of actively disincentivized to continue to care about the old version of the game because clearly they're not making any money on that one anymore. So like why would we care if that one works anymore, or you can play it, or if the patches are available or whatever? Just buy this one instead. And so, you know, that area just kind of gets more carved out over time, right? And so I look at it as a thing where if the industry won't solve the problem, you have people who will. And that's kind of how it's always been. I don't know if that's how it will always be. I mean, you know, like look at the world right now. Like the piracy on console stuff is much, you know, if we look at the current consoles, you almost never hear about piracy on modern Xboxes from the Xbox One forward. As far as I can tell, you know, I'm not in every single loop on this stuff. I just I read up on it when I can. But as far as I can tell, there hasn't really been widespread piracy on the Xbox for the past 2 generations. And I wonder if that's a factor of them allowing for dev mode and some of the other moves they've made on that front. I wonder if that has bought them a certain level of, like the people who want to tinker with an Xbox can do so because they can pay the money and flip it into dev mode, and they can install their homebrew and RetroArch or whatever else, and they can tinker with it all they want. But the Xbox piracy stuff, you don't really hear a ton of it. When I remember hearing about it early on with the Xbox One, but it involved like they were cloning hard drives full of games and like creating multiple primary home accounts and all this other very rickety stuff that would go away. PlayStation 5 is not quite in the same boat. There has been some movement on that front, but it's like very limited and very, very, very limited. And so it's not like it's not a situation like the original Switch where it's like blown wide open, right? And so, but yeah, I wonder if the Xbox's openness to dev mode and a willingness to allow people to tinker with it has prevented people from tinkering with it in ways that they would not appreciate, you know, where it's like, oh, you can do whatever you want with it. Just please don't do that. And maybe that's kind of led to that. I don't know. PC, you know, people get very mad about certain types of DRM working their way into PC games. And piracy on the PC is still pretty available as far as I can tell. I would not trust any of that shit. Like at this point, man, fucking, it's so easy for people to fucking just put a bunch of crazy shit into, you know, I mean, antiviruses are great and so on and so forth, but I simply would not trust pirated copies of PC software at this game, at this point. Like there's a lot of vectors for a lot of creepy shit. That it just, I don't know. That's just, I don't have a level of comfort for that. I don't have a need for it, honestly, but like, I don't have I just that seems like it would be. Yeah, I don't know. This Sony stuff with the Discovery shows getting pulled sucks. It's a it's a bad situation, and it's the sort of situation that when you look at it and you go, well, what are my options here? The options just become piracy at that point, you know, because some of these some of these shows don't get issued on physical media, and they probably shouldn't. You know, am I going to go get Alaska's hottest women, you know, whatever these shows are those all coming out on Blu-ray? Do I need to buy all of those? And, you know, like some of the, Marco says some of these shows don't even get torrents made. Yeah, some of these shows aren't even worth pirating. So I guess so maybe that's the real problem, is that they're all going to end up on the Lost Media Wiki someday, because no one's even bothered. I don't know. It's a bad look, and it makes you think, as these things are wont to do, make you think about, like, man, I sure hope they don't do that with all these video games. You know, but what happens 20 years down the line when Steam is bought by some other company and they don't want to deal with all of this old shit anymore, and they, you know, like, what happens? You know, we can't even, like, even the people that I think are viewed as like the good guys in digital distribution these days, you know, there's no guarantee that they're always going to be in those positions and that they're always going to be, you know, quote unquote, the good guys. But, like I said, when people come together, they tend to find a way around this shit. And when you do this sort of stuff, you end up encouraging people to, I think, start to cross those boundaries. Like, what's the morality here? You know, what's the moral right thing to do here? Like, okay, I paid money for season 1 of Deadly Women. I played by the rules, and I bought my season of Deadly Women and my season of Long Island Medium, and I, you know, and then you yanked it away from me. Now what am I to do? Like, what's my recourse here? Am I getting money back? Like, this I'm sure that there is small print somewhere on these purchasing agreements that that protects Sony from like a lawsuit sort of thing, but you do start to wonder, like, you know, is there a class action here of people who bought this thinking that they were going to own it? Like, what was the messaging around this stuff when you buy it? I mean, I think when you buy something, the implication is that you own something. Now, obviously, when you dig into the fine print, what you are buying is a license to view it, and the license might expire and blah, blah, blah. But I think that, well, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I think this sucks shit. But also, it's hilarious that these are the shows that are getting yanked down in some weird way. Oh no, seasons 1 through 7 of Yukon Men. I'm fucked. I paid so much money for those. But like, that's the recourse, right? Is you just look at that and go like, well, fuck you. I'm not going to go buy them somewhere else. Like, even if they're assuming they're available anywhere else, presumably they get wiped off the map and, you know, off of all these services. It's not just something that's expiring with Sony, but who knows? But like, really, if you just have to steal it now, right? You just have to try to find it and steal it. Especially if you've already paid for it. I feel like at this point, like, the recourse should be, hey, we're going to allow you to, you know, as a one-time thing, we're going to allow you to download DRM-free versions of all these files. That would be the right thing to do, right? If they're like, hey, we can no longer support this stuff, but like, up until this date, you can download this, and because you bought it, because you owned it, or whatever. Like, I feel like that would be the quote unquote right way to send it off. Or yeah, give everybody's money back. And that's not going to happen. Anyway, feels bad. It does feel good though. Atari 50 has an update. I guess that update is out as of this morning. That is adding new games to the collection. They already launched with over 50, and they're saying that this is going to be the first update of several. So we'll see what comes out of that. They are planning like more video style content or more documentary style content down the line. But this one looks like it's 12 new games. Let's see what they are here. It is Adventure 2 for the 2600. That's a homebrew game. That was not an official release back in the day. It's not a prototype or something that's been polished up as far as I can tell. It's someone decided to make a sequel to Adventure 2, or rather a sequel to Adventure. I have the Atari 5200 version of Adventure 2 that someone decided to make, but I have not seen the 2600 version. Bowling for the 2600. These are all, I'm sorry, with one exception, these are all 2600 games. Bowling, Double Dunk, Maze Craze, Miniature Golf, Moto Rodeo, Aqua Venture, which is a prototype, Save Mary, which is a prototype, Super Football, Return to Haunted House, which is a homebrew game, Circus Atari, which I always liked, and Warbirds for the Lynx, which is, I believe, it's a plane game with biplanes in it. That's cool. It's cool that this thing, Atari 50 is a fantastic package. If you haven't seen it, it's definitely worth checking out. The documentary stuff is really great. And, the ability to play the games is cool too. There are a lot of ways to play those games, but it's great that these games are finding their way into this package to kind of make it an even, I think it's like $40. But it's a killer package. The documentaries, like that's the answer. You want to find a way to make purchasing a bunch of Atari 2600 games worthwhile. You produce it in a package like this. You add all of this great documentary content. You add you treat it. You treat it like history. You treat it like something that is worth reading more about, knowing more about, treating it as a proper document. I think is fantastic. And so adding more games, that's cool. They're saying that down the line they will have more updates, and then that will include stuff that is more than just games. And that sounds great. Starbreeze, who just kind of recently got Payday 3 up and running, I guess, in a sense. I don't know if players are happy about where it's at, but it does seem to work. They have announced that they are working on a Dungeons and Dragons game, according to videogameschronicle.com. They're calling it codenamed Project Baxter. They're saying it will carry the signature Starbreeze game cornerstones of co-op multiplayer, lifetime commitment through a games as a service model, community engagement, and a larger than life experience. It's Unreal Engine 5, and it's set to be out on all major platforms in 2026. This may be the first time that I have heard anyone say we'll be out in 2026, and boy, that seems crazy. The CEO says it's hard to imagine a better pairing than Dungeons and Dragons and Starbreeze. Both with their foundation in co-op and community-driven experiences, play it your way, and infinite replayability. When looking at prospective IPs for our future projects, Dungeons & Dragons was always at the top of the list, and I'm incredibly happy to announce this license. I want to thank Wizards of the Coast for being such a great partner. Development of the game is in full swing, and we're excited to deliver an amazing D&D action adventure in 2026. That's crazy. I also remember that Starbreeze is an Embracer Group company. So I feel like for anything related to the Embracer Group to be saying like, yeah, man, 2026, like, really? You gonna You going to be around then? Is any of this going to exist in 2026? Like, I'm trying to, I don't want to be a dick about it. But I'm just, looking at what Embracer has been doing and going through and whatever else. But like, also on the heels of Payday 3 kind of shitting the bed a little bit, turning around and announcing a game that is fucking 3 years out is bold. You're like, hey, you guys are still kind of dealing with Payday 3 being not on fire. Okay, so Starbreeze not owned by Embracer? Is that the... Are they just published? Well, who owns Starbreeze? They went through... Are you sure? Okay, they do have separate shareholders. 505 Games, another company that's doing gangbusters these days. Your friends over at Digital Bros owns 20%. 21% of Starbreeze. And then it's some Swedish banks and so on and so forth. Okay, so that makes me feel a little better than if they were an Embracer company. I have a highly specific love of some of Starbreeze's work. But I think a lot of that work is now represented at Machine Games. Which I'm not necessarily... I don't know, they're doing that Indiana Jones thing, right? It's like, okay. All right. But yeah, Payday 3 failed to meet expectations according to Embracer Group, and obviously Payday 3 has been a little embattled. And obviously they're updating it and they're getting into the shape that it should have been at launch. But I don't know. That's a situation like, yeah, we should look at player counts a little bit. Not that, I hate to resort to player counts because they're weird. But is Payday 2 still being played more than Payday 3? I think that is the question. Big Fortnite event over the weekend. They're making it Roblox, I guess. I don't know. Or not. Or they're doing a bunch of weird shit. Fortnite, it's doing a bunch of weird shit. There was a giant Eminem. I caught part of the event on TikTok. So I watched some of it on my phone. And they're showcasing a bunch of different little events or different little games that will exist inside of Fortnite that, they've got Harmonix working on a rhythm game that looks like it's called Fortnite Festival and potentially involves The Weeknd, which I don't... The Weeknd. That one song's all right. And then something called Rocket Racing. This is all according to Eurogamer, who broke it all down. Rocket Racing, an arcade driving experience made by Psyonix, the Rocket League developer. So integrating some of that into there. Also Lego, with a kind of survival mode type stuff. And so, they're maybe perhaps their answer to Minecraft, but with Legos instead of just generic blocks, I suppose. And so the event seemed like it was more of a showcase for these other games that they will bring into Fortnite. And it's a weird... Is this almost like a tacit admission that the Epic Games Store... Like, they couldn't just launch these as separate things on the Epic Games Store. Instead, it's got to be Lego Fortnite. Instead, it's got to be, like, these things that are being kind of presented as a larger part of Fortnite. And, their continued quest to turn Fortnite into a platform, which I think makes a ton of sense with the number of players they have and so on and so forth. Like, there's nothing... I look at it and go like, yeah, sure, give it a go. But it also starts to make sense why they suddenly started putting ESRB ratings or putting limitations on skins, where they're like, if this skin has a gun on its hip, then it can't be in some of these other experiences that were made for kids. And so, they're kind of limiting which skins you can use where and and whatever else. So this is a thought I had this morning. How long do you think they've been working on this direction of integrating these experiences directly into Fortnite? And that being kind of their goal for a lot of the things that they own, the studios that they've purchased and operate, of being like, oh, okay, these games are big, but we need to figure out a way to get them into Fortnite, because then we can get them in front of players a lot more directly. Now, if you are Epic Games and you published, but you do not own Rumbleverse, a game that is another battle royale game that might be weird to integrate directly into Fortnite, and also is a thing that you published it, but you don't own it. Is that something that further kind of de-incentivizes you to find ways to make Rumbleverse work as a business? Because in the back of your mind that you're pushing all of this stuff directly into Fortnite. And presumably, as this platform grows, if they do well with this stuff, there will probably eventually be room for games that they don't directly own, that they do publishing deals with, and so on and so forth, to exist inside of this space. But I wonder if the Rumbleverse situation sucked. It sounds like I don't know. Maybe there's a quote from Chelsea Blasco, I believe in Axios, because they interviewed her talking about like basically how they didn't lay anybody off. It was like, hey, this seems like a pretty good place to work. They're not laying anybody off. They had a game shut down on them and managed to not lay anyone off because they were able to. And they get into like, oh, this is like they were able to participate more in the 10-year anniversary Killer Instinct stuff because that they were able to kind of like quickly find more work for those parts of the studio that were focused on Rumbleverse. But again, I kind of got into, there's like it's like a sentence or something saying like, oh, a lot of people were playing it, but the monetization maybe wasn't like they weren't spending money. Like the skins game was not where it needed to be. That sounds like a correctable problem, especially if you're Epic Games, a publisher who has a lot of experience in the skins selling market and monetization and all of that sort of stuff. But I don't know I don't know. But also, if Epic's future is them trying to integrate everything directly into Fortnite, because that's a good way for them to get it in front of people and a good way for them to create this leveraged, closed walled garden, like metaverse where like, oh, your skins that you bought in Fortnite will work in the car game and it'll work in this. That gets weird when you're like, oh, and we have another battle royale, but this one doesn't have guns. You can bring all your skins in, but it doesn't have guns. Like that probably gets weird. And I wonder if that ended up being a contributing factor to this sort of stuff, or or Rumbleverse kind of getting shut down. I don't know. I should ask. I probably would not be able to tell anybody the end. I probably would not get an answer. I don't know, but I should ask. Anyway. They did their big event. Eminem was there for a while, and then it was giant Eminem, and like the lip flap, like they did some of his faster material, and the lip syncing I thought on it was pretty good. They did a good job with that stuff. Presumably, that's the stuff that is keeping the lights on at Harmonix and keeping that, as everyone goes through all these layoffs and everything. That this is the sort of stuff that that they're gonna keep pushing on. I don't know. I also think it's really weird. We were talking about the demographics earlier. After GTA6 puts a Tom Petty song in their first trailer, I the demographics of Fortnite are really weird, where they're like, we're putting Solid Snake in it, and we're putting, they put like what the Doom guys in there and all this sort of stuff. Like, it feels like that they are pushing for, after their kind of Marvel run there and whatever else, that they kind of pushed into a lot of this old guy stuff with the Doom guy. And I mean, Solid Snake is like ancient history at this point. And they put the dude from Family Guy in it, I guess, or they're going to, I don't know. But something about that feels a little more demographically on point to me, but maybe that's super old now too, because like fucking Family Guy is like super fucking old. And they still make it, right? It's still on, but like it's not, I guess there's probably just, I bet that there's a big difference between the people who put the most hours into Fortnite and the people who put the most dollars into Fortnite, right? There's probably a certain amount of just like, oh, well, we know adults with money would love, they would see the ability to get this fucking Doom skin and go, oh, hell yeah. So maybe they just have to like cross all over the place. But then like them, look, Eminem is not, Slim Shady is not for the children anymore. It's just not. Like, 14 to 24-year-olds, like who's the average, what's the average age of an Eminem fan in this day in this day and age, right? Not that I don't think Eminem is a skin in the game. I think they just put him in this thing, but like, but they did the thing with, it was like Travis Scott before, right? And like Travis Scott, you're like, that maybe makes a little more sense demographically speaking. But yeah, the age of the average Eminem listener. There are 3 Eminem skins in the game? Sure, okay, great. Yeah, that's just weird. I don't know. Like, Eminem is such a complicated fucking topic. As his career goes on, it's just such a fucking weird. It's like, it's weird that he still exists, and he's like, he's become like, well, like they put they put Lose Yourself into their event, like they put that song in there, and you just go like, yeah, okay, like that. He's just the Lose Yourself guy. And then, but also he's like the kind of the Venom guy a little bit, which is also just super fucking, I don't know. That's the stuff that Eminem is known for in a modern context, I think is super fucking strange. But I guess, good on him for maintaining some form of relevance. It's just weird, man. I don't know. I think Eminem had a real, his time there back in the, when he was in Quake 3, Eminem, when they put Eminem and Dre into Quake 3, or they made the mod that included an Eminem and Dre skin, Eminem was like on top of the world. For all of his fucking ridiculous sexual assault endorsing lyrical content as a starting point, I guess. He was very much on top of the world. And I still maintain that he is, if not then one of the most skilled rappers alive. He thinks about that shit in a way that very few people are able to, and all of that sort of stuff. I think that stuff is a lot less interesting. Whatever. I think his music is fucking boring. I think him having all these tracks where he's rapping super fast and showing off how fast he can rap, like he's fucking Twista or something, but he ain't Twista. Is extremely fucking boring. And back when him and Dre were together a little more on the regular, they were making classic songs and albums. Classic material, often top to bottom, for those first few albums. And now he is just rapping to, it's like he's getting his reps in. It's like he's in the gym. He's just like, yeah, look at how fast I can say Venom. And you're like, yeah, that's cool, man. This song sucks, but it's damn impressive how you can do this. Anyway. Guess who's back? It's Eminem. It's back again. I need to find my Quest 2. My VR headset around here somewhere. They have Valve has released a Steam Link app for Facebook's VR headsets. And, there were ways to do this before. Oculus had a built-in, like a AirLink software, and also Virtual Desktop is a piece of software that did this as well. But the ability to wirelessly run PC VR apps on your headset, it's clunky. It's always been a little clunky getting Virtual Desktop up and running. I found, like, last time I tried to do it, it was just, it's a little funky around the edges. And so the idea of a simpler application built by Valve, designed to hook up to Steam and play Steam VR games wirelessly on your headset, I think sounds rad. That is something that has been that to me is way more interesting than whatever they're selling directly on the headset. The stuff that runs directly on the headset, and you're just like, yeah, I'm running it, and you're like, man, I wish that this had better resolution or better frame rate or whatever, because it still has to run on this computer strapped to the side of my head as opposed to this very much larger computer in the corner of this room. My experiences with the wireless stuff on Virtual Desktop were mostly good. The last time I tried that, which was at this point 3 years ago, because it was always hard to get it running properly. And the AirLink stuff that Oculus tried to put out never seemed to work properly. I don't think I ever got that shit working. And you had to load into so many different interfaces and then load into this interface and pick this. And then you're getting the Steam interface up and you're like, well, now wait, now what do I do? It was a clunky thing. So the idea of like, hey, go to your headset, launch the Steam Link app, and then it'll take it from there sounds enticing. So I'm curious to try that out. But also, I don't know. Every time I think about VR, it's always this like weird, sad state of affairs. There's a VR sale happening on Steam right now. The Steam VR Fest started yesterday. And they did put out Steam VR 2.0 finally after thinking about it for a long time. And so a bunch of VR games are on sale, I guess. And that's, I don't know. I'm looking at the popular titles list at the top of their thing here. And I'm sure it's serving different things to different people. But it's like, it's Skyrim VR. It's Fallout 4 VR. It's Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes, a game from literally 2015. It's I Expect You to Die 3, which I don't know. I didn't know that they were making a third one of those. That came out this year. I Expect You to Die 1, I remember being fun for what it was. Elite Dangerous is on sale, and that I don't think you have to have VR to do that. Hitman 3 is technically on sale, even though it's not, it's, like the VR in that is very slight. You get Hitman 3 for $28 right now. Tetris Effect Connected. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I kind of I'm always wanting to check back in on VR, and so the Steam Link software will maybe give me another reason to kind of dive back into it and see if I can figure it out. But or figure it out's not the right word, but I feel like I figured it out. Like, see what's there. Like, it's been a while since I put a VR headset on a PC. Maybe I'll try playing Half-Life Alyx again. Like I have since upgraded PC quite a bit that will run that much better than it did when it first came out, but also I don't know. I did not have much fun with that game. It seemed like a very well-made thing that it's kind of the like, yeah, look at the cool novelty of doing Half-Life stuff in VR. It sure is weird when these things fly at my face. But it just feels like a lot of the developer investment is gone. A lot of the investment in developers feels like it's long since drifted away. Even Facebook's efforts, and they were kind of like the company that felt like they were like still kind of all in on it. Even they feel like they're a lot more tepid on it than they used to be. And so there's not a new wave of development in VR. It doesn't feel like that there is a big new wave of game development in VR anymore. So I don't know. It's even talking about it now, it just feels like quaint. You know, it's like, oh yeah, VR. Yeah, I guess that's still technically a thing. Like PlayStation VR 2 came out. Remember that? I know a handful of games have shipped since then. I still haven't played Cosmic Smash, which that's like something that is so up my fucking alley, that is so directly aimed at me. The idea that they made a new Cosmic Smash game, I'm like, holy shit. Who would have thought that they would have ever made a Cosmic Smash game? But still, at the end of the day, it's like, what am I going to hook the headset back up and do all this stuff to try a VR version of Cosmic Smash? I guess I should do that one of these days. But there's some of that is me, I'm sure. But no heat. The opposite of heat there on a lot of this VR stuff. Or it feels like the best stuff in VR came out already. Okay, they put out Rez in VR. We're done. It's got a cool new level. They should make another one of those. They should make what if they made a new Rez? What if they made a new Rez? They should do that. Shouldn't be VR only, but I don't know. What actually is a new Rez at this point? Like if they just made it and it was Rez again, and it just is, here's some new songs. And also a remix of Buggy Run and Beeps. You're like, yeah. Rez is, I mean, that would still be pretty good. I would be interested in that. But I recently went back and played a little bit of Child of Eden, which was the follow-up to Rez. It was billed as a Kinect game. So you did not have to play it with Kinect, but it was like, kind of aim with your hand sort of stuff. And it was clunky and did not work very well. And I went back and played some Child of Eden with a controller. I don't much care for it. Still, I think the stuff they did to that thing, it does not hit the same notes that Rez does. It doesn't feel like it's building on Rez in fun and cool ways. It feels like, oh, okay, yeah, I kind of see a little bit of that style of lock-on shooter here, but it's not the same. Anyway, it's cool that Steam software exists, and we'll see if that breathes any new life into this stuff. But nothing's going to breathe new life into this stuff. I think like Apple's going to put out its thing, but it's not like they're going to lean in on games. Like maybe Valve will put out a Steam Link app for Apple's thing, and maybe that will be cool because of the relative quality of that headset. That's always a potential thing. But like that feels like the next big thing to happen in VR, and like that thing seems ridiculous from a pricing standpoint, from a use case scenario. Like the way that Apple is pitching their VR thing or their VR AR thing seems fucking silly. Seems like a gigantic waste of time. A farce, if you will. And we'll see. Maybe it'll come out and it'll be like, oh, actually, this is the first generation of the future of interacting with screens and fake screens and whatever else. Like, maybe this will end up having some secret sauce to it that will make it bigger than it seems. But like Apple's pitch for their VR thing, for their headset, seems foolish. I don't know. People said the same thing about the iPhone, right? But also, like, the VR space has been carved out for the last decade, and it doesn't really seem like the interest is there. And the way they're pitching that headset, it doesn't seem like it's better enough to be the thing that gets people on board. And also, Apple is never serious about games in a way that matters. So it's not like they're going to go out there and pursue a ton of game content for that thing. They just think you're going to want to look at pictures on it. I don't like, what's the fucking point? What's the fucking point? Why would anyone want that thing? I remember when I got my Kickstarter fucking Oculus Rift, and I remember putting it on and being like, this is incredible. It's clunky as shit and I can barely get it to work, but oh my God. This is the coolest shit I've seen in forever. And then it went commercial, and that initial batch of games, I still think that one of the best times I have had and will probably ever have in VR is that EVE Online fucking cockpit shooter. Back when people were playing it. And budget cuts was cool, because it used the room scale stuff in some really fascinating ways. There's some other things in there that are good, but in terms of things that I remember seeing and going like, holy shit, it was like Eve Valkyrie, budget cuts. And even budget cuts, by the time I was done with even the demo of it, I was like, yeah, I'm cool. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I want VR to happen. Like, I want there to be, like, if we're going to keep putting out new apps and new headsets and all this other stuff, like, I want it to be great. I want it to be this well-supported, crazy thing, because it feels like it has the potential to do that. It's just, whether it's market forces or just, again, the realities of people putting these things on and shutting themselves off from the world just not being an option for a lot of, like, I wouldn't be able to do that. Maybe after the kids went to bed, but even then, like Half-Life Alyx feels like the kind of cap off of that stuff, of like reasonable VR, of like, hey, we're making a VR game that everyone can play. We're not leaning into, because some people like the Boneworks people lean into that chip on your shoulder, like, this is VR without compromise kind of thing, which is neat, but obviously like pretty limited appeal, because there are still people who get sick in VR and you still have to deal with a lot of that shit. Half-Life Alyx felt like a reasonable version of that, where they're like, hey, we made this really cool thing and there's a lot of novel, exciting interactions that you can get into here, and so on and so forth. But also, we've put in, you can play it sitting down. We've done the things that, has anyone made anything anywhere close to that since? The Boneworks sequel came out, which people seemed a little less excited about. Anyway, I don't know. VR, whatever. I want to look into it again. I'll say that much about it. I feel like I want to kind of catch up. And because, at this point, like, it's been a while since I've tried, but I keep failing to see reasons to try. I want to be resold on VR, but I don't think I don't think that's going to happen. I don't know. Anyway, that's going to do it for the news. Maybe we can take like one email here before we break loose here. And that email is send them in podcast@guard.bike. Send in your emails. Like Mustard Deposit has done, who simply says, have you ever played a pornographic video game that you would actually describe as good? No, I don't know that I. No, no, I can't think of a game that would be like straight up pornographic. A game with nudity that's good, like maybe. But actual, like straight up pornography, I don't think so. Yeah, I can't think of a one. You know, VR chat. Someone suggested in chat here, and like, oh yeah, okay. Yeah. I can't think of anything. Let's take one more. Tommy from Florida writes in. So I saw that GTA trailer like the rest of the internet. Once I saw 2025, I knew that I just can't bring myself to give a shit this time. After GTA 5 in particular, these protracted launch hype lead-ups are starting to feel like Rockstar is more and more up their own ass. As someone with a pretty impartial view of this industry, have you noticed a change in Rockstar's attitude, or am I just grumpy? I think actually, you know, I think Rockstar has become a little more grounded. I think if anything, they are less up their own ass than they were. I don't know that for sure. I haven't talked to anyone who's there in a little while. It's been a bit. But you know, when you think about how they responded to some of the crunch conversation and some of the things they tried to fix on GTA 6's development and why it's taking so long. I don't know. I don't think this is the same Rockstar that it was, because a lot of those people have left, but I think a lot, you know, the leadership over there has always had very high standards in ways that express themselves in very shitty ways. Also, Tommy from Florida, are you just angry because it's showing your state? Are you just mad because you see too much of yourself in it? Is that the real problem here? But also, I think what you're saying holds some water. It just has nothing to do with GTA. When you say you saw 2025 and knew you can't bring yourself to give a shit this time, yeah. I think that these protracted, like, year-long, when's the next trailer gonna hit? Like, I think that stuff is it's hard to care across an entire year and change, you know. And I think that more and more games that do the thing of like announcing themselves and then releasing in like 3 months or whatever, I think that's a lot. I like that a lot more. But also when games get announced in earnings calls, like, secrecy in the games industry is shitty. It's fucking annoying. It is it's bad. I think that, you know, like, so having the next Grand Theft Auto be discussed in earnings calls and some of those other things that they did before this trailer, I think is fine. And I think more slates should just be like, oh, here's the stuff we're working on. This studio's working on another one of these, and they'll show it when they're ready. Or they'll show it, you know, when the trailer's ready and whatever. And you know, like the way they announced Skyrim just to get, or the next Elder Scrolls game, rather, just to get people to shut the fuck up. I think on some level that's sad, but also they don't need that level of secrecy. They could be like, oh yeah, you know, yeah, we're gonna, you know, we know we're going to do Starfield, and then we're pretty sure right after that we're going to get back onto Elder Scrolls. That's the plan right now. The problem is that, you know, the people, and you see this in a lot of reporting, like, people take all reporting as black and white. It's true or it's false. There's no middle ground. There's no, if the plans change, that means the reporter lied. It doesn't mean that plans changed. And so, like, there's a real illiteracy in the audience for all media. I was talking about this recently when it comes to wrestling reporting. But it's something that happens in games a lot. So what if they announced, hey, we're, you know, they said, oh yeah, we're going to do Elder Scrolls after this. And then something came up and they're like, actually, we had a really great idea for a Fallout game and we've decided to do that instead. What if they did that? People wouldn't stand for it. You're like, oh my God, you lied to us. Like, no, our plans changed. And so like the inability of the audience to handle shaky ground and the way the landscape shifts and the way plans change is, I think, part of what leads to a lot of, or some of this secrecy. Because the audience proves time and time again that they have a hard time handling pre-release content of just like, oh, whether it's that or like, these puddles look like shit now, like that sort of stuff. It's a you understand why a lot of game developers just don't fucking say shit for as long as they possibly can. Anyway, that's the show. I'm gonna get going. Have yourselves a good rest of your week. I will be here to talk over the Game Awards. So if you don't see me sooner than that, then we will be streaming Thursday afternoon. I believe those start at 4:30, which is a weird start time. I thought it'd be more like 5, but I believe when I looked it up, it looked like it started at 4:30. Hopefully that's not just a half-hour countdown. But I've decided to stay home and watch it with y'all this time. So we'll check out the old Game Awards. I'll have it. Okay, that's a pre-show. Okay, we might skip the pre-show and start at 5 then, or 4:45 or something like that. But I will double check the start times and make sure that I'm right on that, because that's also when all the kids go to bed. So if I can be around as long as I can to help with as much of that process as I can, then I will. But anyway, that's Thursday, and then ideally we'll be looking at Nintendo games Friday morning. Head on over to the Patreon, investigate how you can become a part of the menace and join the madness. Patreon.com/Jeff Gerstmann. Head over there. Thanks everyone for listening or watching and listening, I suppose. And the podcast will be back next Tuesday. See you then.